One is they worry about the quality. That's probably the least of their worries. I, as a video producer, no longer worry about that because the most important thing to me is the message. The most important thing to me is, does the video do what it was set out to do? Not how does it look, you know?
Being an in-house producer in a B2B company can be radically different from working for an agency. From the type of content you're expected to produce to the allocation of resources and budget. It forces you to think differently about what quality content really means. And the rise of conversational content and the growing demand for authenticity, it might even mean that you choose to record some content using everyday smartphones and webcams. Welcome to Video in Focus, the show that explores the expanding role of video in modern marketing and sales, and how to create better connections through purposeful video content. I'm your host, Tyler Lessard, and today we're speaking with Glenn Hughes, video producer at Gordian, a leading provider of construction cost data, software, and expertise. Now, Glenn began his career as a film producer and never expected to be talking about marketing qualified leads and in-video calls to action while working at a large business-to-business company.
I was working for an independent kind of a boutique agency here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I'm based. And we were doing short films, we were doing narrative films, film festivals, things like that. Lucky enough to be getting paid to do it because we worked for a couple universities, and I was an adjunct faculty member of a university here, teaching editing and things like that. So we were lucky we were getting to do short narrative films and getting paid for it. And then we started branching out and doing more client-based films. The guy that I worked with really didn't like to doing the corporate type video. And I found that I had a passion for doing corporate video much more than doing what everybody else seems to want to do, which is narrative films. I really like telling true stories. I really like helping companies, move the needle. And so I left there and I was self-employed for a while, working for a number of clients. And what I would say, LinkedIn works because a recruiter called me one day that saw my LinkedIn profile, asked me if I'd like to come to interview with Gordian. I said no. And my wife said, what? You don't want to go work for a company? The company's offering you a job. And I said, no, absolutely not. I love working at home. I love being part of this. And she said, go ahead and interview. And I went down there and I interviewed, and I had 3 interviews the first day. And I left the office building that day thinking, oh man, I hope I get this job, because it just seemed like a dream job to me. Gordian is involved in the construction industry. I'm very into construction. I do a lot of my own construction. I'm constantly building on the weekends. And so to be able to tie video and construction and marketing and everything together, it was just a perfect opportunity for me. I've been here a little over 4 years. Yeah. And I feel very, very lucky to be able to do what I love doing and work with the team that I work with, and for a company that is very into video. There's almost nothing that I don't get to do. So it's very exciting.
So being a producer at a large company in the construction market, how does that differ in terms of the experiences that you have, the kinds of video that you're creating, how you tell stories compared to, a traditional film production role, which again, maybe, a broader kind of more consumer oriented or commercial kind of content? How have you found that over the last few years? And what advice do you have to either producers that are thinking about going into business, or vice versa, businesses looking to bring in producers and make them successful internally?
Yeah. Okay. So what I would say is the biggest difference that I think is when you're working in a production company, particularly, for an example, I told you I worked for a company here. It was a boutique agency. Boutique agency meaning it was me and one other guy. But when we shot stuff, it was rarely me and one other guy. We often went on set and had 40 person crew, because you have a client who says, we want this production. How much is it going to cost? You're competing with other production companies out there who have big crews, who have big budgets, and you pitch the sky to them. This is what we can do to you, but this is going to take a 10-ton grip truck. This is going to take gaffers. This is going to take grips. This is going to take everything, to give you what you want. That doesn't happen in the corporate world very much. What happens in the corporate world is they hire you as a video producer, And I call myself a video producer because that's mainly what I do. I don't spend a lot of time shooting. I do spend a lot of time editing, but I'm the shooter, I'm the editor, I'm the writer, I'm the everything. So I'm a one-person department. The other thing is when you're working for a production company, you can kind of pitch the sky and find out where the chips land. When you're working in house, you know that your salary is covered, but every little thing becomes, well, how much is that going to cost? How much is that going to cost? Well, we can't hire talent. You can't use some employees. Can't buy a new camera because we bought you one 4 years ago. Things like that. So you're working, even though the company is making money. You might work for a large corporation. It's still very much about budget, and it's always that way in marketing. I work in a marketing department, and it's always very much that way. And that's the biggest thing that I see, is that I have to always be conscious of how much is this going to cost, and how am I going to do it on a very limited budget. An example is we're doing a couple commercials right now for one of our products, which is RS Means Data. The first two of a 3-part series I did completely myself. I starred in the one myself. It's just a 30-second spot that we're paying for ad time on Facebook and LinkedIn. Yeah. So I had to have my wife run the camera. I had to star myself, which is often difficult because you can't see the framing. You have to keep going back and re-indexing the shot. And then the second one, I had a good friend of mine star in it because I wasn't given a budget for actors. So that's really the big. If you worked at a production agency, you would refuse to do that. Right. I mean, if you went to a client and they said, we have no budget for actors, we have no budget for light crew, we have no budget for soundman, you would say that, well, then I can't do the job. Yeah. So that's the biggest difference that I find.
Having limited to no production budget could be a deal breaker for many producers. But Glenn actually seems to thrive on it. It forces him to be more resourceful, enables him to be more creative, and also gets him into the rhythm of faster and more frequent video creation without being bogged down by an expectation of perfection. And that's a good thing, because companies like Gordian are creating more videos than ever to support the entire buying journey.
We do full funnel videos, I would say, which is, all the way from the awareness stage down through the decision stage. Unfortunately, we don't have the time enough to strategically think about that flow. We've done a few. Jock 101 is one of the things that you brought up. We're working on one right now for one of our products called Facilities Benchmarking and Analysis. And so we're kind of working on a full funnel strategy right there. So you have top of the funnel awareness videos. Then we have, decision consideration videos. And so we're doing all kinds of things. And so I'll give you an example of some of the projects I'm working on right now, because those are kind of run the gamut. I'm doing a campaign right now for something called Gordian Cloud, which is our cloud software for our flagship product, which is job order contracting. And for the first time, we have a really robust software component to that. So I did a top of the funnel teaser video for that, where it's voiceover, music, quick cuts, some graphics coming in and out. Very short. I think it's 90 seconds, something like that. And so it's an overview of the product. And we talk in that overview about some of the benefits of the product. And we just briefly show it on the screen. We have a lot of B-roll of contractors, of people working on computers on the software. And we just talk about things like contractor collaboration with the owner. We talk about things like being able to manage your project efficiently. We then have 4 other videos that take each of those bullet point topics from that teaser and expand on them. Those are also very short as well. So those are 4 30-second to 90-second videos where we talk about, okay, contractor collaboration. Here's a little bit more about how that works. Yep. We talk a little bit more about efficiencies in project management. Here's a little bit more about how that works. they're kind of demos, but not really. It's just we're showing the software in action and saying this is how that works. And then the final component of that will be the bottom of the funnel piece, where we will have full demos. And those demos could be, I don't know how long they'll be. We probably will, instead of a 90-minute demo showing you how to run the software, we'll probably have 4, 5, 6, 10 to 15-minute videos, because it is complex. But that's a full funnel strategy. So that's the kind of thing that we're doing. Another thing that we're doing a lot of recently that I have a passion for is the more candid style video. So we're doing, we're really concentrating a lot on cell phone video. We're concentrating a lot on webcam video. We haven't done too many of those yet. We're going to be doing more of them because they just feel more real. And one of the things that we're really concentrating about in the marketing department this year is showing the human side of our company, making the company more human. So in our sector, it's often difficult to try to show the human impact. We like to like everybody likes to tell the hero's story, right? Make your customer the hero. Tell their story, not yours. That's not always so easy, especially when, in our case, most of our customers are government clients. Government clients aren't necessarily even allowed to go on camera and promote a product or promote a vendor, So we have to tell their story. But even when we tell their story or tell our story, we're going more towards getting away more from having the professional voiceover, having the professional music, things like that, and just putting employees on screen to talk about the success stories that they've seen with customers. So if we can't get the customers on the screen, let's get our employees on the screen. Let's show the human side of it. So we're doing more of that. And an example of that would be, I talked about facilities benchmarking analysis, one of our products that we're putting a campaign together around. That's the full funnel strategy one. That began with the top level, with the awareness level video as being an animated teaser, which we've always done. Frankly, I hate the animated teasers because they're very labor intensive. I do them, but they're very labor intensive, and I don't know. It's something it's that I don't like when I see them coming up on YouTube or any place else. I skip right by them. And as a video producer, I often feel like the animated teaser is something like, well, we really aren't creative enough to think of how to do this in the real world. So we'll just put a bunch of animations up and have a voiceover over top of it. So it started out with that. We had a script. We had ideas for the animations and everything. And I said, let's not do that. Let's have real world people do this. So I went to our division up in Connecticut that are the people that make and sell and work on this product, facilities benchmarking analysis. And I spent 3 days there interviewing everybody on the team who works on that product. Tell me what it is. Why is it important? How does it help our customers? Can you give me some examples of times when you worked with a customer and you really felt like this product really helped them? And so I came back, and it's more like making a documentary. So even the teaser now is in documentary style. And so we're doing much more of that now.
Now you'll note that Glenn spoke almost exclusively about educational content, which is the primary focus for most B2B brands these days. And when you're focused on this type of content, your priority becomes the value of the content itself rather than the production value. It's all about how to communicate your message in the most effective way and how to use the power of video to build trust with your brand and your own employees.
On that topic of production value, that's another thing that we're working more towards. I talked to you about the candid selfie style videos. Our president has given me the task now of putting together kind of a tutorial video on selfie style video. How do you get good quality? I've seen them. I really like them. They feel real. I want to do more of them. He wants to do more himself, where he can just go to LinkedIn or go someplace and put it up, but he doesn't want it to look crappy. I want it to look good without the high production value. So we're working more on doing those cell phone videos, doing webcam videos like we're doing now. And there are certainly guidelines that you can use to get better quality. But the one thing that I would say about high production value versus low production value, there is one place that I don't feel that you can skimp at all, and that is on your audio. the audio really is the most important thing. So I even go as far as I don't produce webinars anymore, but for a long time, the first couple of years I worked at Gordian, I produced a lot of webinars, and there's a Microsoft Live Chat 3000 headset that you can buy from B&H Photo. I think it's like $26. It has great audio. It's a USB headset, and when I was producing webinars, I would just order them from B&H and have them drop shipped directly to the people that we were interviewing in the webinar. So we have professionals that are not with our company, industry experts that are part of our webinar, because the sound quality is so much better than when people put their phone on speaker, in a room. It sounds like they're in a gymnasium or something like that. Yeah. And even now I'm doing some more videos, internal videos as well as external videos, where I'm doing exactly what you and I are doing right now, where instead of me flying to Connecticut or me flying to California or something to get this video, I've realized more and more something that I learned a long time ago, which is that the audio is so much more important than the video, that I just say, let's just do a Skype session. I'll record you on Skype. We're not going to try to hide the fact that this was a Skype video. We're not going to try to make this look more than anything that what it is. However, what I am going to do is I'm going to send you a good microphone to use. Or what I often do is I have a Zoom H4n recorder, and I'll send them I'll FedEx them the recorder along with my Sennheiser lav mic. And then I tell them before we do the recording session, here's how you clip the lav mic on. Here's how you get the Zoom recorder working. We do the whole Skype session. I record it just like you and I are recording this right now. And then I have them send me that. I have them send me the recorder back, and I have a high quality digital audio file that I just sync with the video. Because no one has ever watched a video that I've done that way and said, that video looked kind of crappy. But if the audio sounds crappy, people immediately see that as amateurish.
It's interesting to have a video producer's perspective on enabling people in the organization to create selfie videos and DIY videos, because usually those two butt heads, and the video production team is against that approach, and they want to maintain this high quality and this process that they use, and we'll often sort of defer from that. But I think in most companies today, we need to start thinking about how to enable people across the business to create and share video and not have to engage the video producers every single time. And I think by helping them understand, here's how you can create good quality selfie style videos from your phone, from your webcam on your computer, and maybe even to do some really simple lightweight editing. I don't know, maybe not for everybody, but to start to enable the rest of the business, I think actually is going to be an important role of in-house video producers going forward. And I'm curious sort of how you see that, and how you expect it to play out in your own organization.
Sure. Well, I know within our organization, and this probably speaks to a lot of organizations, there's a couple of main reasons why organizations and people within those organizations don't want to do the selfie style video. One is they worry about the quality. That's probably the least of their worries. I, as a video producer, no longer worry about that, because the most important thing to me is the message. The most important thing to me is, does the video do what it was set out to do? Not how does it look, So that's an important thing. But a lot of people worry about the quality. They worry about, I'm not good on camera, which I'll come back to in a moment. And then the other thing that they worry about is the messaging. We can't just let our employees just throw stuff out there. We're in the marketing department, so we feel like we want to control everything. Right? We don't want the sales team, and not that the sales team couldn't do a great job. They probably do a better job than we do, but we are in charge of the message. We're in charge of the image, and you can't just let people put it out there. So I think the way it's going to play out in our organization, the way the plan is at this point, is I'm going to create these tutorials for people, put them up online, probably on YouTube. And here are best practices for selfie videos, whether you're using a webcam or whether you're using your phone. Here are the best practices. And then I think that what we're going to do is have people upload those to, we use SharePoint. Some people use Dropbox, whatever. Have them upload them, send them to me. I'll edit them, They'll run through the marketing department. We'll make sure the messaging is on. We'll make sure we're using consistent language. So it will still end up going through the marketing department. I think that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. So that fear of who knows what some wild card is going to say, or if they're going to use the wrong language or something, that fear is gone. In addition, we have a full-time social media person. So that person will be in charge of uploading those type of things to LinkedIn, to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all our social media sites. So that kind of fear is gone. And then the final fear, which is a big one for a lot of people, is I'm not on camera. And this is a really funny one. I'm not good on camera. And I think this is a really funny one for salespeople, because they're the number one people who will say, I'm not good on camera. What I don't get is how you could not be good on camera, but you can be good talking to a person face to face. And if you're not good at talking to a person face to face, or if you're not good talking to a person on the phone, then how can you possibly be a salesperson? Because that is what you do. So the real tip is, when you're talking to the camera, don't think of the technology. Don't think you're talking to this mechanical piece of thing. Think about a particular customer. Think about that one person. And don't just think of a customer. Think of a particular customer that you have. You're talking to Joe, and look into that camera and talk to Joe and tell me what you would tell Joe. That's easier said than done. I understand that. It's hard for me. I've had to do a few videos. I did one for you guys. It was very difficult for me to look into that camera with nobody around and try to speak candidly. It's easy now because I'm talking to you face to face. So, I mean, I think that's also a way. I just had a brainstorm. That's also a way to do it, is if you want these people to have to be really candid, get them on camera. We want our salespeople to be recognizable. We want them to be personal. We want to introduce them to the public. Just do a Skype session like that and edit yourself out of it. It's the same way I do interviews live. I go and interview someone live. I cut myself out of it in the end.
Right.
And so again, I just had a brainstorm. That's the next thing I'm going to propose, is that we start doing selfie videos like this. Talk to someone, then you're not talking to the camera. You're speaking to a real human being, and everybody can do that. That's easy.
So we've talked about Glenn's approach to producing a wide range of content, but something else his team does particularly well is productizing their videos. He recently produced a short series called Job Order Contracting 101, with the explicit goal of attracting new leads into their funnel, but also converting them into qualified leads for the sales team. And the results are pretty outstanding. But it didn't happen by accident. It was all about taking a strategic approach to the content itself, the in-video calls to action, and using the viewer engagement data in creative ways behind the scenes.
What we conceived of was a video series that had 5 videos actually, the fifth one being just like the FB&A series that I talked about that we're working on now. Same thing, where we have a teaser video, and then we have 4 other videos that were targeted at each stage of the funnel. So the teaser video is public. It's on YouTube. We've used it several times. We pushed it on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. It's been on the front page of our website a couple of times as we rotate content. And all it really does is tell you, in this video series, here's what you're going to learn. I think it's a 60-second video, and click here to register for the series. And so then the next videos are, the first video is, a 5-minute video. What is job order contracting? How does it work? Yeah. Gives you a pretty broad overview. The next one is, how does job order contracting compare to other construction procurement methods? So even people in the industries that we target as customers, they use other procurement methods, and those procurement methods are things called design bid build, contract or construction manager at risk, but they may never have heard job order contracting. So we say, how does this process compare to all the other processes that have been around forever that you know about? When should you use job order contracting? When is it not a good choice to use, in all honesty? And then the next stage of the funnel down, the next video is like a 6-minute video, and it was customer success stories. These are all of our customers who've used job order contracting for projects. Here's the projects that they had, and this is them in their words telling why they chose job order contracting, why it was the best use of the tool. And then the final one is how to set up a job order contracting program. And that is very detailed about, here's all the paperwork that's involved. There's bid documents, there's contract documents, there's project documents. There's something we call the construction task catalog. There's the technical specification list. There's all kinds of documents. And so this goes very deep into, these are the documents that you need. This is how you set up bids with your contractors. This is how you run the program. And that video is, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes long or something. Nobody wants to watch that video at the top of the funnel. I've never heard of job order contracting. Why should I watch that? So what we did was we gated all of this content. That you have that teaser that takes you behind the gate. Then once you get behind the gate, you can watch each of these videos. We use Vidyard in conjunction with our Marketo integration. We're also integrated with Salesforce. So this allows us to see not only just, it's not just lead gen where, okay, we got a name. Great. They signed up. We got a name. Now what do? We're able to follow that person. We're able to see they watched video number 1 and they watched it in its entirety. That's great. They didn't watch any of the other videos. So we have a certain score for that person. But this person watched both the first 2 videos. Now, you can imagine by the time you get down to video 4, if you find somebody who's watched 50% of video 4 and they watch the other 3, you can imagine what their lead score is going to be. I mean, there's someone who is truly interested. And so that's how we use that whole video campaign to lead score. And it's been highly successful for us. Don't ask me the numbers. I've given them to you guys a couple of times and I don't have them off the top of my head. Actually, you can put them up on the screen. But we've kept it. It's kind of been an evergreen program for us as well, because originally what we did was we made it a 4-day event. So what we did was we put the teaser out there. We used an email campaign to say from August 1st through 4th, we're going to run this video series. So it's kind of like a 4-day webinar. But you could watch video 1 at any time on Monday. You could watch video 2 anytime on Tuesday, Wednesday. And so this really required people, if you're interested, you've got to be there. You've got to log in. You've got to watch the video. And we generated a heck of a lot of leads from that. We let it kind of die down a little bit because you don't want to overmarket, right? And I don't know how many months later it was, a few months later, then we put it out kind of like you would do with a webinar. It's on demand. Now you can register for the series and you can watch all 4 videos whenever you feel like it. Another thing that we did as part of that campaign that we like to do is we offered extra downloadable material. And we mentioned it at the beginning of the video. So it might be a white paper. It might be an ebook, as you said. It might be a worksheet. I'm sure most people watching this have seen this kind of thing before, where, hey, at the end of this, download it. But we put that announcement kind of right up at the front of each video. If you watch this video to the end, or if you want to zoom to the end, you'll see there's a place where we have linked where you can download some other accessible material that can help you. And the other thing that we did that's very important in marketing is we really didn't talk about us. If you filled out that form, you already know that this is Gordian. Right. We got our watermark down in the corner. You're watching it on our website probably, or you're watching it on a partner's channel where it's already branded. We don't have to sell ourselves. What we're going to talk about is job order contracting, to get people involved and to get engagement, deliver them useful content, not just marketing content. It's about, as marketers, we have a plan and we have ideas of what we want to tell people, but we don't always think about what people want to hear. And the two of those things don't often intersect. So give them what they want to hear first, and then tell them what you want to tell them. That's what we're trying to do.
Full funnel video. Content value over production value. Marketing qualified leads and pipeline. Embracing video production as a B2B organization is vastly different from the consumer and agency worlds. But if you actively embrace the idea that sometimes less is more, it will move you past trying to produce perfect videos and on to creating content that converts. And when you take a strategic approach to combining high-value content with the right tools and analytics, view counts no longer count, your customers do. Thanks for joining us on Video in Focus, brought to you by the fine folks here at Vidyard. If you enjoyed the show, give it a like or a share and hit that subscribe button for future episodes. And if you want to take Video in Focus to go, download the podcast version of each episode as part of the Creating Connections podcast series. now available on your favorite podcast platform.